there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to show you how to make this cool flip-flop card without using any dies or anything really fancy. In fact, you don't really need any tools other than an X-Acto knife or some shape cutters to make this. And I'm using stamps by Rubbernecker today, and I will put links below the video so you can find the stamp sets that I use. The first thing we need to do today is make some double-sided cardstock. So what I have here is just a sheet of inexpensive white Georgia-Pacific cardstock and a sheet of inexpensive Ducats with a View pattern paper that came in one of those 180 sheet stacks that you can get at the craft store for just I think I paid like $8 for 180 sheets. But you can use any just thinner, you want your thinner, cheaper type of scrapbook paper for this. Something that's going to match the colors of ink you plan on using. And the ink I'm using today is just dye-based ink. I'm using the Stampin' Up! Dye-based ink, the old style, but you can use like Memento or really, I think any ink you have is going to be just fine. And I'm just using a regular old kid's glue stick here to glue these papers back to back. Just line it up as good as you can. Get those edges together as well as you can. And you can slip it around a little bit while you're, that's a good thing about a glue stick. You can kind of move it around a little bit while you're letting it, you're trying to position it. And then just smooth it out as good as you can. Don't fret if you're over a little bit. We can trim off any uneven edges. It's really not going to make that big of a deal. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is go over to my paper trimmer and cut this in half, because what I want is you know how you cut your cardstock in half to make a couple regular cards? That's what I'm going to do. Cut it right at 5.5. So I'll have two 5.5 by 8.5 pieces of paper, and I'll be right back after I do that. Okay, so I have my two papers here. I only need one for this project, so I'm going to set the other one aside. So it's a great way to make your multiple cards at once. And the next thing I'm going to do is use a scoring board to make my little score lines for my flip-flop card. And what I'm going to do is score it at 3.5 inches. Make sure you maybe go down a couple times on that score line to make sure you get a nice deep score. And also at 5 inches. So it's basically like 3.5 inches from each side, from each end. Alright, so now we've got, can you see that with the little lines there? I think you can see that alright. Okay, now what I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you two different ways to do this so you can do it depending on whatever materials you have on hand. If you have like a shape cutter like this, just center it up, and you want to, I'm using a larger cutter so I can do so I can kind of mat it, and you just want to cut around the edges. Don't cut in between where your two score lines are. You want to make sure you don't cut in that channel in the middle. You're just going to cut on each side. Or if you have a stencil or you just want to trace a cookie cutter, it doesn't really matter. You can trace a stencil, just do the same thing and cut it out with an X-Acto knife. Since I have these old Creative Memory cutters, I'm going to go ahead and use that, and I'm just going to eyeball it. You can actually kind of you can make it higher or lower or right dead in the center. It's completely up to you. That's a flexibility you do not have with other, if you buy like a die cut for this. So that's kind of like a nice advantage. Plus you get to use what you already have, which I love. So I'm going to pull that all, cutting through 2 layers of paper here. So there, and I'm just kind of peeking over the edge. I'm just kind of like leaning back in my chair so I can see where that blade is cutting. And what I should do is put a little permanent pen mark on the edge of my blade so I can see at what point the blade pushes through. So there, we've got that cut. So when we want to fold it like that, and you can see the flip-flop action. Bloop, 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 bloop. Isn't that fun? All right, now we get to do the fun stuff, which is stamping. We're going to want to have like a panel to go on the front and on the back of a card like I did on the example. See, I got a panel there and a panel there. So that way when it's closed, it's still pretty and you still see that sentiment, which I think is really kind of cool. And the cool thing, actually, this stamp set, I'll show you in a second, it comes with several sentiments. I'm just going to make a slightly smaller oval, so I'm using the smaller cutter in this Creative Memories system. But you know, you could just cut a slightly smaller one if you're using a stencil, or keep it the same size. Doesn't really matter. Just make sure it's not bigger or your window's not going to flip-flop on you. I think I need some new blades. These are feeling kind of dull. Well, then again, I'm not using the Creative Memories mat, and if I used a glass mat, it'd probably cut a little bit quicker, but this is going to do. I don't want to be switching out my stuff every 2 seconds. Alright, so we got these 2 mats that we're going to use, and I can set this aside for, you know, I could cut 2 more and I'd be able to do that other card over there if I want to in the future, but for right now I'm just going to set that out of the way, and I'm going to put a piece of paper to protect my work surface, a well-used piece of paper, and we're going to do some stamp layering. So I've got my stamps right here in this tray, and the first stamp we're going to use is this canvas texture background, and I'll show you the package that it's in, so if you happen to go to a stamp show or look online, that's what it looks like. I'll put a link below to that. I really love big backgrounds because you can layer them, you can get a lot of different looks, and they're kind of like the workhorses, I think, in my stamp collection. And when I'm doing a big background, I'll tap, 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 and then I'll rub it like that, so I don't get the lines of ink from the edges of my ink pad. And I'm going to just hit it here and there, go all over this this card with my gray ink. And this actually, I don't know if it's still the case with the Stampin' Up! Inks. This is the old style, but the gray, the basic black, basic gray, and like chocolate chip, I think, were all waterproof. So the ones I have are. I don't know if they're still, with the new style pads, if they're still waterproof or not, but I really like having that gray in case I do want a watercolor. It just gives you a much softer look. Alright, so I got my background stamped there, and now what we're going to do is use this set here, which is called Wildflowers in the Wind, and it's a several step that you do. You step your grasses, and then you stamp the flowers, and a couple different flowers. Instead of doing the purple little grasses there, I'm doing those in green, but you can do whatever you like, and what I love is that they're not so fussy. You don't have to have them lined up perfectly, and they still look great, so that's nice. And I've got my this stamp on a rocking mount. This is a Crafter's Companion Rock-A-Block. The other one I used was an Impression Obsession Mega Mount. For larger stamps, I do like the rocking mounts. So I'm going to do this one actually in 4 different places. I'm going to show the entire stamp on the 2 corners, on these 2 corners, and the other corners I'll just kind of accent a little bit. And you know, see that? I over-inked right there. You can see that there, which I might go in with my KAI scissors and cut that out. But don't worry about it. You're not going to notice it once you have all the other stamping in. So if that happens, don't restamp it. It's going to be fine. So I'm just doing a little bit there on the edges, just so I can have, just so it's not so naked over there. There. And now, these right here are actually supposed to be little purple flowers according to the suggestion on the packaging, but I really wanted it to be more like more leaves. So I'm doing this in a brighter green. I think it's like certainly celery or something. So it's more of like just a nice fresh green. And then I could look right on the ink pad for you. Oh, yep, certainly celery. I was like, oh no, do I have to open these things? They're very complicated. And then I'm going to go in with these little bitty flowers. I'm going to do them, which is actually, I think they're supposed to be the shadow on the big flowers, but I often mess them up when I'm trying to line them up. So they're kind of their own flowers in my little stamping universe, which is fine because they still look darn cute. And I'm not sure if I want to put the flowers. Maybe just tap a few in like that. I don't really want them to be too bright there. And then I'm using this lighter pink, which is Regal Rose. I don't even know if these colors are even current anymore, because you know I buy reinkers whenever I buy a stamp pad, so you know that way I can keep reinking them. If I like the color now, I'm gonna like the color in 3 years, so I don't care if they're current or not. Let's see, I think I want that to go like that. That's what I like, that you don't have to have these lined up. I might put arrows eventually, like right on the cling cushion if I find that I like them a certain way better than another way, but I'm really kind of more of a just wing it type of girl. You could also, if you preferred a warmer look, you could do like the canvas texture and like a soft brown, or even a lighter green or pink if you like, but I kind of like that gray. Now another thing I like to do, apologize for the noise there, it's my water pump. I am just going to use a color duster here to add a little color around the edges. It's just such a nice, easy way to add a little color, and what I like to do is kind of pick up that and just gently dust a little color in there. I wouldn't worry about it being perfect. I like to just kind of let it be a little easy breezy. There we go. And if I wanted to add a little more color, I could do a little of that green. Because gray can be kind of cool and not have very much character in it, so sometimes I'll just do a couple of colors there, since we did start off with just a plain white cardstock. Alright, so for our two little panels that we already cut, we're going to do the same stamping, the same images. I am using, again, the same colors. Second verse, same as the first. Actually, why don't we just do them right at the same time? Boy, that'd be wicked smart. You're wicked smart, you'll do them at the same time. Bloop. I feel like I got a sore throat. I'm feeling, I hope I don't have a cold coming on. I hope it's just too much karaokeing this weekend. We got the girls a karaoke machine for their birthday. And let me tell you, about the 10th time you hear Let It Go, you want to invest in some earplugs. Oh yes, the Frozen soundtrack, that's been popular. And also tween hits. I've never heard any of those songs before in my life. So it's got like something by Justin Bieber and something by Taylor Swift and other, those are the only two people I've heard of that are on that CD, but the girls are really enjoying that. We did get one that had, it was like 100 party songs, and that has like awesome songs on it. It's got like ABBA and Frank Sinatra and Bruce Springsteen and, you know, the Foundations. You know, it's really fun. It's got like a lot of songs from Dirty Dancing, and I'm totally rocking that CD. Which is really bad because I can't sing. I'm a terrible singer, but I love to sing too much not to sing, so I sing. My husband actually had the little tablet going, and he recorded one of my performances, and I told him that it was not to leave the house. Now this little sentiment, I'm going to put it right here on these little panels. I think it's pretty, but there are a couple other sentiments. This one is just some flowers to brighten your day. So it's a nice little anytime card. I really like to have those on hand. If someone's having a rough time, you know, if you can just slip a little card like that in their pocketbook or their bag or in their mailbox, it's just kind of nice. And to make the this little panel really pop from the background, I'm just going to do a little bit of this gray ink on the edges. Gray ink, it's sometimes nice to use gray instead of black because it's just so much of a softer look. You still get that nice neutral, but it just looks a little bit nicer. And it's kind of interesting to see how bold that the sentiment looks versus how soft the background looks. And that's the quality of the stamp. How they, the dots that they use and stuff that, you know, really nice stamps, you'll see that they can really affect like how intense your color stamps just by how they make the rubber. And it tends to be more of a rubber stamp feature than a clear stamp feature. They don't really, clear stamps don't really have that sort of subtlety. They don't have that depth of intensity, I think. So that's, and also I don't think you get this really nice watercolor look with clear stamps. So that's kind of nice here. I like clear stamps too, but that's, you know, rubber stamps are usually a little bit better quality. I love this. And look at that. How long does this take us? 13 minutes? Oh my goodness. How fun is that? So you could easily make up a batch of these. What I like is that it's a quick card because, you know, sometimes I'll be working on a card and it'll take me an hour and it's like I don't have time to spend an hour on my cards. But you do something like this. You could do this for an invitation. It's quick enough that you could do for a party invitation. It's quick enough you could do to make a batch of these. This is going to make a 5x5 card, so it will require like an extra 12 cents to mail it. But if you wanted to make it like a regular size, like 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card, before you cut the middle, you could actually slice off a little bit of each end, or you could maybe use a smaller plaque in the middle, and then after you've got it and you're looking at it, you might say, well, I wish this was not so wide here, and you could trim a little bit there. You could kind of trim it after you cut the middle so that you have it exactly the way you want. But I like a square card. I think it's kind of fun, and it's pretty from both sides. So what I would do is I would probably just write with a black pen on this side any you know, wishes for my recipient, and that's how I do that. And really, I don't think I'd add any ribbon or embellishments because I just kind of think it's pretty like this. So there you go. Check out the links below if you want to find these stamps I used from Rubbernecker. Please click over here if you want to see other card making and rubber stamp tutorials. And don't forget to like this video if you liked it, subscribe, and share it with your friends because that really helps my channel out. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, happy crafting!